So today's Cardinal lesson, it's a celebration. We just hit 3 million YouTube video views. It's just amazing. Um, I want to push it to Tom, and I want Tom to share. So why are we doing this video today?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing this video because we just want to celebrate the fact that we've hit that 3 million mark view, right? We didn't set out thinking YouTube was going to do this for us. It's been wonderful for our business. And we just appreciate you guys watching and following along. So again, it's really a celebration of how good YouTube has been for our business. And so let me bring up the show notes like we always have. You can find these at the link below our video. They're also on our website at cardinalguide.com. We have the board. We'll go through that as we do with the videos. And we'll hit on some of this stuff as we're going through, but we sort of are going to go through a history lesson, how we've ended up here, and just give you guys sort of, again, just a thank you for following along and being with us here. So let me turn it back to Hans. We'll focus on the board and we'll get going here.
So yeah, 3 million video views. I mean, obviously on YouTube, in such a big thing, there's people that do this like by the day. 3 million views and 22,000 subscribers. But for us, little old us in North Carolina, we're in 50 states in the District of Columbia. So we can do business with people all over the United States, and we have to be licensed there. We have to know something about each jurisdiction. But YouTube puts us there, and so we need to be ready to help people. We do a lot of our meetings with people on Zoom, and it kind of feels like the kitchen table years ago to me. And I mean, I stand here in awe. So I want to push it to Tom. I mean, how did we get here, Tom? And where were we when you came to work?
Oh yeah, it has changed quite a lot from when I first started. So I started as an intern in college. Honestly, I was just looking for anyone who would take me, right? I just needed a job, and I got very fortunate to end up here with Cardinal. But we were still very much sort of in the old phase, doing a lot of cold calling. I mean, part of my job as an intern was loading up the phone numbers into these automatic dialers, and we were calling people out primarily for Medicare and trying to drum up business there. And to think of how that has changed, and now we sit back, we make these videos, and people are reaching out to us. It is just drastically different. And like I had mentioned in the why part of the video, is when we started making videos, we had no thought that it would end up where it has. Right, we were making them trying to generate content that we could market in different ways, because cold calling, it just was no longer working as successfully. Mail wasn't working, so we had to figure out a way to do this. Hans can give more of the backstory. He's been doing this much longer than I have. But and we started making them, and then a couple of them really took off, and that really served as sort of the critical sort of start to this channel. And again, it is a little bit, when we sit back and reflect on how it's changed ever since at least I've been here, it is pretty remarkable where we are now. So Hans, why don't you give a little bit of more background of like where you've been in the business for over 50 years. So it's clearly has changed a lot since you started.
Well, I mean, you know this, Tom, because we're working on this every week, and I have conversations with my dad, regularly. And Tom had joked earlier when we were getting ready, is that when my dad starts talking back, because he's deceased many years ago. But I started in the business working for him 50 years ago, and we were making cold calls. I mean, that was our whole thing, is we went out to see people. We had to market our stuff. He used to say that people don't come in here, they don't come walking in the front door of the office and buy insurance. So you got to go out and see them. And this is a difficult product to sell. And the consumers, the people, or your parents or your grandparents, they didn't like cold calls any more than we did. They didn't like us coming to see them or calling them up unannounced. And so it was really kind of a difficult way to run a business. It was difficult to either be the customer or the salesperson. And what we can celebrate now with YouTube is we don't make any cold calls anymore. And, I used to, and like I said, I've been doing this 50 years. I opened Cardinal in 2010, left my big company executive job, started what was going to be the rest of my life, being a salesperson, a financial planner, a CFP, hiring a team of young people. I was 50 then. well, maybe not quite 50, but or a little over 50. But in any case, building what was the rest of my business. And so we were using direct mail leads. I mean, we had to, so they're very expensive and they still kind of worked then. And I could make them work, very expensive. And just in those early years of the business, really hard to, because a lot of those people, it's expensive. They send in a card or a card back and say, yeah, I want to buy, want to look at this, not necessarily going to buy, but I want to look at it. And we'd try to make an appointment, go out to their house. Very tedious, very difficult. We'd have to ask the people to buy several times. It was just a whole process that it's amazing. I stayed in it for 50 years, but that piece of it I really didn't like. And I was the developer, the trainer. I mean, I ran a whole company at one point where I had 5,000 salespeople reporting up through me, and I was in charge of teaching them how to do that. So anyhow, how did we get here? Well, when we started doing digital advertising, where replaced the paper, mail out leads, send a coupon back, I hired outside vendors to do that. And you want to talk about a number of unscrupulous people. I mean, it's just, kind of forced to do business with them because it's just, I didn't know how to make leads on a digital basis. So I started buying leads or buying responses from these digital people. And what I learned real quickly is they were selling to all my competitors. So now you had 20 of us, 30 of us calling you, and I was one of the 30, and that didn't work very well. So then I decided I got to learn this stuff myself. And so we started sending out emails, doing all kinds of things, none of which worked very well. Um, Whole time I'm doing financial plans, doing that. We had built up a customer base. We worked referrals. And there was a time in 2014, 2015, I wrote a book called The Complete Cardinal Guide to Planning for and Living in Retirement. And it had 7 subject chapters. And it was about turning 65. It was about people in their 60s, about going over these 7 topics, which we'll go over in a second, and we do in all our videos. And this book really laid out the framework for the content. We got like 410 videos now in what soon is going to be 2026. Pretty cool. And so the book in each individual chapter gave us the content in the videos. And when we started making the videos, there were, I really defined it by what I'm not going to do is that we're not going to tell you our phone number 15 times during the video. And we're not going to so we're not selling. It's teach, not sell. So we've made it our goal that every time we make a video and we put it out, we want the person that's watching it, which is you, to learn something. Okay, even if you never call us, I wanted to be a positive influence. I wanted to teach you one little piece of the story, and just whether it's on Social Security or Medicare or long-term care or estate planning or taxes, one little piece, keep it kind of narrow. This is what we're going to teach you. So I want to push it to Tom. I know Tom has some stuff to share with you about also of just kind of in this story of how we built the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Hans mentioned, the goal in every video is to have something that we're teaching you, right? We can't teach you everything in one video, so that's why we have a series, and so we're focused on one small aspect of it, and that's been the underlying premise of every video that we make. And so hopefully it's been successful. I think it has. But with that also comes, there's no high pressure sales tactics. We're not having to sit here and close you really hard. I mean, we put out the information and the people almost self-select, like, hey, this sounds like something I'm interested. They reach out. So it makes the buying experience for the consumer a lot better, right? So if it's not right for you, you don't need to call us, but enough people, it clearly it resonates with them. And so it removes the pressure or removes the fear, right? That's why we have the things on our website where you can look at the quotes for the Medicare supplements. You don't have to call us. Again, it's a very low pressure area, which I think is just different from when I first started, right? When we were always never going to be, we never were sort of this really a far extreme cold calling and really sort of scammy type things. I mean, we were always trying to help people, but we still needed to get someone to answer the phone. They needed to trust you. If you get a call from a random person, automatically you're not going to trust them. So you had to build up that trust very quickly. The nice thing about these videos is you guys get to watch us. You get to come to know us a little bit. You trust by the time you're reaching out. Generally, you have some level of trust. Now, we still need to sort of work on that and specific with you when you call us. But at the end of the day, that trust building process is really cool that these videos provide. Is a way for you to get to know us some without us having to meet us the first time where we're trying to sell you a Medicare supplement or sign you up and do financial planning for you. So it's way different. Again, I'm glad we are where we are now, right? I think it is a hard business. We're trying to do it, and it is sort of finding that customer, finding the person you're trying to help, and getting them to trust you is the hardest part of this, right? I mean, you need to have the technical skills, which we clearly are good at, but that's almost a given, right? It's how do you find the person to actually help who wants your help, and that's what YouTube has done for us, which has been wonderful.
Yeah. So I wish my dad was here to watch this. I mean, he would just be amazed that we don't call anybody anymore. I mean, frankly, what we do is this is my dad and me 50 years ago, or almost 50 years ago. Um, he was my sales manager. He was kind of the vice president over the whole region. And believe me, we were making cold calls. And he would sit here now and just look and he said, what do you mean you don't call people? How do you get your prospects? I said that, we have a whole team of people, and maybe you could go to that, Tom, where these people here, they answer the phone and they do it very well. So we answer our phone. You're not going to get a recording when you call us here. And they're there to help. But instead of them calling you, trying to get you to talk to us, this is what I wish you could watch is the phone just rings, or they come in through the web on our website, or they send us a text. You can text this number right here. If you want to get in touch with us, you can just send a text there and we'll get in touch with you. But if my dad could sit here and watch this in action, I'd really he would be impressed, because it's from, we don't spend any time prospecting. We spend all our time now helping people. And in fact, we don't even talk to you when you call in. They do. And they're going to set up a Zoom call so that, it's just like 50 years ago when I was sitting across the kitchen table. It's just, I can go to a different one every hour. I don't have to drive anywhere. That's why I'm working while I'm still at 67 years old. So I really wish he was here. The people that call us, they already trust us. And in our business, building trust and being trustworthy is just the whole business. And so most of the people that call us have watched several videos, some of them 20, 30, 40 videos. They've been watching them since the beginning. And by the time they call in, and what more can you ask for? I mean, all we really have to say to this is thank you. Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't say it better. It's just we really appreciate everybody who's followed along, who subscribes, who watches our videos. Even if you haven't reached out, hopefully you're getting good information from the videos. And so we just want to, again, we appreciate it and want to say thank you. It wouldn't be a video. We talked about teaching something in every video, so we at least need to talk a little bit about the 7 areas. That's not the main focus today, but we do want to go sort of piece by piece, give you a little bit of a nugget for each one, just to, again, stick with our theme of trying to teach something and not sell here. So Hans, why don't you start us off, and we'll go back and forth here on
Okay.
the 7 subjects.
So on Social Security, think about delaying claiming. I'm not telling you all to delay claiming. Some people need to start it immediately. And if that's the case, we'll tell you, but consider that. And, in the absence of collecting the Social Security check, you might create a bridge. We can help you create a bridge to take some of your retirement money and live off of that, create an income from that for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and then turn on your Social Security at a much later date, and you're going to have a Social Security check that's larger, that's going to go on for the rest of your life. Tom?
Yeah, so on Medicare, a lot of it is around claiming, like, when should you file? If you're working, do you need it? So there's we teach a lot about that. But once you've signed up for Medicare, often we're talking about signing up for Medicare supplement, um, getting a drug plan. If you're facing IRMA, that increased cost for Medicare based off your income, is there ways to plan around that? Can you appeal that? So we have a lot of videos on that Medicare piece of it. But it's critically important, right? I mean, when you retire and your group coverage is ending, you need health insurance. Medicare is that one. So you need to understand sort of what decisions to make there.
So, with long term care insurance, just consider the price your family pays if you don't have a plan for long term care. Yeah, it's really easy to sit at 65 years old and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'll pay for it myself. If that ends up happening to me, I've got plenty of money, I'll do that. Um, it's real easy to do that, but I want you to look at yourself when you're 85 or 90, or your spouse is 85 or 90, and maybe you're gone, and think about how well are they going to do. It's really going to be your adult kids that are going to be using your money to care for you. We can help you with all of that in advance now. So I don't want to belabor the point. Consider it. And you also hybrid life long-term care insurance. There's a new type of long-term care that's going to pay either way. Is that if you go your whole life and you don't use it for long-term care, it's going to pay a death benefit to your heirs. And if you use it for long-term care, it's going to be one of the best purchases you ever made. Tom?
Yeah, so the next section is IRA and 401k. And this is where most people have the bulk of their savings and there's retirement accounts. And the problem with these accounts, if you want to call it a problem, is they haven't been taxed yet. So you got a deduction with the money going in. You haven't paid taxes yet, but when you start pulling it out, now we owe the taxes. And so we do a lot of planning around how to get that money out in the least taxed way, because you get to keep more of it. If you pay more in tax, you get to keep less of it. So we want to do that wisely. We look at Roth conversions, things like that. And one of the things that I heard someone say, and it really sort of struck a nerve in me, and I think it's true, is that an IRA is really an IOU to the IRS, right? I mean, some of that money is going to have to go to pay taxes. And the goal here is to pay the least amount possible over the life of that money to the IRS. So we do a lot of planning around that.
And so next is income and investment. And what you're able to do is that most people have IRA and 401k money now. They don't have a pension. Pensions are, unless they work for the government or one of the major corporations that still has pensions, and then they have a pension and a 401k, which is very fortunate. But there's a big void of people don't have pensions. They have this big bulk of money, which is a good problem to have. And now they face retirement and they're afraid to spend any of it and to live off it. And it creates problems. You can actually buy a pension. We can help you do it where you can take some of that IRA 401k money and purchase for you and your spouse, or just you, if you're single, a lifetime pension, just like the old timey pensions. Is going to send you a check every month for the rest of your life. Tom?
Yeah. So the next section is estate planning. When we're talking about estate planning, really we want to talk about sort of the first step of that is what happens when the first spouse passes away, or even before that, sort of if they become incapacitated, right? Do you have power of attorneys in place? Do you have living wills and wills in place? But some of the things we need to think about, especially for a couple, is what happens to your Social Security checks when the first one dies, right? The lower one stops, the higher check continues. That it gets tied back into Social Security. Another sort of consequence of one of the spouses dying is now the surviving spouse is filing taxes at that single tax filing rate. So now it's something called like a widow's tax. So now you have the similar income, but more taxes now. So we need to do some tax planning around that. We need to have all the documents in place, whether that's a will or a trust or a power of attorneys. I mean, all of those are important and they're specific to you. And so that is a focus when we're doing planning, of making sure everything is lined up and in place for you, if in case something, or when eventually something does happen.
So I put taxes at the back end of the bus. Yeah, it's just very important in retirement. That's the last subject. And I do this because people that come into me with tax breath, and that's all they want to talk about, and generally they're a little angry about it, I make them wait. We're going to talk about all this other stuff first, and then we're going to talk about this. And in reality, by the time we get to this, we've talked about taxes enough. But anyhow, that's just kind of my own little personal view on that. We're going to look at your lifetime tax bill. We're going to look at 65 to however long you live or how long your spouse lives after you, 90, 95. And we're going to look at the whole lifetime tax bill in our financial planning and try to lower it and smooth it out. Roth distributions are tax free. I mean, just think about that as if you convert some money and you get some money in a Roth, you're going to have the ability to create tax free income later in life. And then if you don't use that later in life, you can pass the Roth money to your heirs tax free instead of creating a tax bomb. The widow's tax, we've already mentioned that, and that Roth and life insurance transfer to your heirs tax free. So, what we do in comprehensive financial planning is we take all 7 of these subjects and all of our knowledge. And when you hire us to do a financial plan, we're going to give you a written plan that applies to your situation on all 7 subjects. And then they all mix together. So, I want to bring Tom back on. I'm Hans Scheil,
And I'm Tom Griffith.
and we thank you very much for joining us today in our celebration of 3 million views.
Thank you.